The diner on the corner of Maple Street was the kind of place people drove past without noticing. Its neon sign flickered, and the smell of fresh coffee floated into the chilly night air. Inside, the place buzzed with the usual rhythm of forks clinking against plates, the occasional burst of laughter, and the low hum of conversation. At one of the corner booths, a man sat alone, scrolling absently through his phone. He looked out of place in the little diner, his tailored suit, polished shoes, and the unmistakable air of someone who belonged to boardrooms and penthouses, not sticky tabletops and ketchup-stained menus. He was Ethan Carter, a billionaire businessman whose face had often graced magazine covers. Tonight, though, he was just another customer, trying to disappear in a place where no one knew his name. Carrying a tray, Lena, the young waitress working the late shift, walked over with a pot of coffee. She had been hustling non-stop for hours, her apron stained and her hair tied messily in a bun. But she wore her usual polite smile, the kind she had perfected over the years of serving difficult customers and covering double shifts. When she reached the booth, she froze. Her eyes dropped to Ethan's hand as he reached for his cup. On his finger was a ring. A simple silver band with a unique, intricate carving that shimmered faintly under the diner lights. Her heart skipped. She stared. "Hi, sir," she said slowly, her voice trembling with disbelief. "My mother has a ring just like yours." Ethan's head lifted. His usually unreadable face shifted ever so slightly. He followed her gaze to the ring and then back to her eyes. For the first time that evening, his phone went dark on the table. "Your mother?" he asked, his voice low and cautious. Lena nodded, suddenly nervous. "Yes. I've never seen anyone else with one like it. She told me she got it a long time ago, said it was a gift. From someone who meant everything to her." Ethan's jaw tightened, but he didn't say anything right away. Instead, he studied her. There was something familiar about her, her eyes, the shape of her face, even the way she nervously twisted the corner of her apron. Finally, he spoke. "What's your mother's name?" Lena blinked. "Why?" "Because," he said, his tone heavier now, "this ring isn't something you just buy. It was custom made. There are only two like it in the world. One belongs to me. The other, I gave away many years ago." Her throat went dry. She whispered, "Her name's Clara." The coffee pot in her hand trembled so hard she almost spilled it. Ethan leaned back slowly, and for a moment, the powerful billionaire looked less like the man who closed billion-dollar deals and more like someone hit by a storm he didn't see coming. "Clara," he repeated softly, almost to himself. "Clara Summers." Lena's eyes widened. You know her?" Ethan's lips curved into the faintest, most bittersweet smile. "Know her? She was the love of my life." Lena's heart raced as she sat down across from him, forgetting the tray in her hands. The diner noise seemed to fade into the background. "You loved my mother?" she asked, almost whispering. Ethan nodded slowly. "We were young. Too young, maybe. I met her in college, before all of this." He gestured vaguely at his expensive suit, his phone, the life he now lived. "She was everything. Kind, bright, full of dreams. And that ring." He tapped his finger against the silver band. "It was a promise. I had one made for her and one for me. I told her that no matter where life took us, we'd always be connected." His voice broke slightly at the memory. Lena felt her throat tighten. She had never known her mother to talk much about the past. Clara had raised her alone, working 2 jobs, struggling to keep food on the table. She never mentioned Ethan. Never mentioned love. Only survival. She never told me," Lena whispered. "Of course she didn't," Ethan said quietly. "I was a fool. After graduation, I got swept up in building my company. I promised her I'd come back for her, but I didn't. By the time I realized what I had lost, she was gone. I searched, but she had disappeared from my world." Lena swallowed hard, her emotions tumbling. "She raised me by herself. She struggled every single day. And you were out there building empires." Her voice cracked with anger she didn't know she carried. Ethan didn't flinch. He accepted the accusation with a heavy silence, his eyes lowered to the ring. "I know," he said finally, his voice breaking. "And that's a weight I'll carry for the rest of my life." The bell above the diner door jingled, and a gust of cold air swept in. A few customers left, and the night grew quieter. Ethan leaned forward. "Where is she now?" "Your mother." Lena hesitated. "She's sick. Very sick. She doesn't like me telling people, but she has late-stage cancer. The bills are. Her words faltered. She didn't want to cry in front of this stranger, billionaire or not. Ethan's expression changed. His polished composure crumbled, and a raw, almost desperate urgency filled his eyes. I want to see her, he said firmly. Please, take me to her. 2 hours later, Lena pushed open the creaky door of their small apartment. Ethan followed her inside, his expensive shoes silent against the worn-out carpet. On the couch, under a thin blanket, lay Clara. Her face was pale, her hair thinner than Lena remembered it ever being. But when her eyes fluttered open, they held the same warmth Lena had grown up with. Mom, Lena whispered softly, kneeling beside her. There's someone here to see you. Clara's tired eyes shifted, and when they landed on Ethan, they widened in disbelief. For a moment, time itself seemed to stop. Ethan, she breathed, her voice trembling. He knelt down beside her, tears filling his eyes. Clara, I finally found you. Her hand weakly reached for his, and when their fingers touched, it was as if decades melted away. The years, the pain, the silence, all of it vanished, leaving only the echo of what once was. You kept it, she whispered, staring at the ring. I never took it off, Ethan said, his voice cracking, not once. Lena watched, her heart caught between disbelief and awe. She had never seen her mother look at anyone like this before, so full of love, even in her weakest moment. Over the next few weeks, Ethan became a constant presence. He paid for Clara's treatments, refusing to take no for an answer. He moved heaven and earth to get the best doctors, the best care. But more than that, he brought light back into their little apartment. He cooked meals with Lena. He sat by Clara's bedside, telling her stories of the life he had built. And sometimes, in the quiet hours, Lena would catch them simply holding hands, their silence saying more than words ever could. Slowly, Lena's anger softened. She saw the truth in his eyes, the regret, the love that had never died, the man who would give anything for just one more chance. One evening, Clara asked Lena to step outside with Ethan. The sun was setting, painting the sky in gold and crimson. She deserves to know, Clara said softly. Ethan looked at her, then at Lena. His eyes glistened. Know what? Lena asked cautiously. Ethan's voice trembled. Lena, I'm not just someone who loved your mother. I'm your father. The world seemed to tilt. Lena stared at him, unable to breathe, unable to speak. You, what? Clara's hand covered hers gently. It's true, sweetheart. I didn't tell you because I didn't want his world to hurt you. I thought it was better if you grew up away from all that. But he's your father, he always was. Tears streamed down Lena's face as she stumbled back, her mind racing. Memories flashed, birthdays with no father. Nights she cried herself to sleep, watching her mother work herself to exhaustion. And now, this. You left us, she whispered to Ethan, her voice shaking. You left me. Ethan's own tears fell freely. I didn't know, Lena. If I had known you existed, nothing would have kept me away, nothing. Silence stretched between them, heavy and fragile. Then, slowly, Lena's anger cracked, just enough for something else to seep in, hope. In the months that followed, their lives changed. Ethan was no longer just a face from the magazines. He became family. He stood by Lena at her graduation from community college, cheering louder than anyone. He brought Clara moments of joy in her hardest days, filling her final chapter with love instead of loneliness. And Lena, though it wasn't easy, began to let him in. She saw the man behind the billions. A man who made mistakes, yes, but also a man willing to give everything to make things right. The ring that had once been just a symbol of a love lost became something more. It was proof that love, no matter how delayed, had found its way back. One quiet evening, as the three of them sat together watching the city lights flicker, Lena leaned her head against Ethan's shoulder. For the first time in her life, she felt whole. And for Ethan, the billionaire who had once thought he had everything, he realized that the greatest fortune of all was sitting right there beside him.